Good morning and welcome to St. Mark's. My message title today is God in the Storm. And what we're doing today is we're looking at the book of Job. The book of Job revolves around a central character named Job. He was very happy, healthy and wealthy. That's until Satan steps into the picture. Satan accuses Job of only worshipping God because God has blessed him with wealth and health. God doesn't agree with this evaluation, but allows Satan to go and test and afflict Job. The first episode is not on his person, but on the things around him. What happens is all of his animals get stolen or killed. So that means his wealth, his business is all gone in just one day. That's not all that happens. What happens is Job has 10 children. He has 7 sons and 3 daughters. And what happens on this one day, they were all celebrating a party in the one house when a great storm arose, broke down the walls, and the roof of the building came down and crushed his family. All 10 of his children died. At this, Satan would assume that Job would then curse God, but he doesn't. Job says, "The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." Satan has lost that ground, but goes back to God and says, "No, God, if you allow me to touch his person, if you allow me to physically afflict him, then he will curse you." So what happens is God allows Satan to go back down. This time, Satan afflicts Job with terrible sores, from his head to his toe, terrible sores and boils all over his body. And what the rest of the book of Job is all about, that's only in the first 3 chapters. The rest of the book of Job is all about Job struggling between doubt and faith, and his friends accusing him of some hidden sin. That's why God is punishing him. And the rest of the book is about then Job defending himself. Near the end of the book, around chapters 36 and 37, enters a man called Elihu. Elihu is a younger man of Job and his friends, and he eventually gives Job some real good advice, which he takes to heart and he draws his attention to. At the end of Elihu's remarks, there's a great storm on the horizon, and God speaks in the storm. So let me read to you what the book of Job says about God in the storm. We will read from Job chapter 38, the first 3 verses. "Then the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm, and he said, 'Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge? Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me.'" So what God does, he comes out and he speaks out of the storm. And of the whole book of Job is about Job asking questions to God. Why has this happened? Why have you allowed this to happen? And what God eventually does is he answers Job. But he doesn't answer him in the traditional way by actually giving him answers. What God actually does is send him more questions. 180 questions. More than 180 questions God asks Job. What we want to do today is just look at 4 of those questions. The first question is this. God asked, "Were you there when I created the earth?" And we'll read the following verses from verses 4 to 7 of Job 38. "Were you there when I laid the foundation of the earth? Tell me if you know so much. Who determined its dimensions and stretched out its surveying line? What supports its foundations, and who has laid its cornerstone as the morning stars sang together?" Now, what I don't want to do is to use this platform as a debate as to whether we were created by intelligent design or by random chance of evolution. I'm a Bible-believing Christian. I believe that in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And today you'll have many scientists coming forward and proposing different speculations, opinions, and theories as to how they think and when they think the universe was created. At the end of the day, all they have is theories. Hence the word, the Big Bang Theory and the theory of evolution. Scientists don't like that word because they claim that what they have is hard evidence to back up their claims. But in actual fact, they don't. It will be a theory. It will forever be a theory. Because as God asked Job, "Were you there when I laid the foundations of the earth? Were you there when I created everything?" Obviously, we were not there. So how do we know? Scientists will be, in their arrogance, come before God and claim that they know how and when the earth was created. But God says, "Were you there when I laid the foundation of the earth?" You know, today we look out at the earth and we see many bad things. We see crime and corruption. We see poverty. We see the wars in Ukraine and Russia. We see a civilian unrest in Sudan. We see the continual Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the Middle East. And we look around at all of this, and it kind of begs the question that where does this all come from? Did God do this? And obviously not. All of those things are consequences of the sin and wickedness of man. And we look around the world, and yes, we see that wickedness. We cannot be ignorant of it. We cannot hide behind it or be naive. The realities of sin are out in the world. But what I don't want you to do is to focus on the wickedness of man and not see the glory of God, not see the beauty of his creation that he has given us. And he has given us some of the most beautiful landscapes in creation. Let me show you just a few of them. Beautiful sunrise over the mountains, snow on high-capped mountains, waterfalls, a beautiful lake, mountains, blue sky, green trees. I just love this picture. It always reminds me of as if there was a road in front of this valley, this beautiful landscape. And you can imagine just riding past this road and just out of the blues, just looking to your right, and all of a sudden, this is what you'll see. It just blows my mind. And to think that there's many people that probably do ride this road and never actually appreciate the beauty of what God has given us. Sometimes we should just be still and say, thank you, Lord. The next question that God asked Job is, can you make the sun set? Or rather, how many sunrises have you made? In the book of Job, verses 38, verses 12 to 13, he says this, have you ever given orders to the morning, or shown the dawn in its place, and it might take the earth by the edges and shake the wicked out of it? He asked Job, have you made the sunset? Have you made the sunrise? And it's something, again, we take so much for granted. We see the sunrise every morning, we see the sunset. And for us, it's just a mundane thing. It happens all the time. And it's really nothing too marvelous or amazing about it. But let me explain to you how really incredible and amazing that sunrise and sunset is. Let me show you this picture. It's a picture that you might be familiar with, that you saw in school. It's a picture of the earth revolving around the sun. And it revolves around the sun every 365 days. And to do this, it travels at a speed of 107,000 kilometers per hour. Not only is it revolving around the sun, but it's also rotating on its axis. And it does that every 24 hours. That's our day and our night. And to complete that 24-hour cycle, it's actually going around on its axis at 1,600 kilometers per hour. That's really, really, really fast. Not only is it revolving around the sun and rotating on its axis, but it's also actually tilted at a 23-degree angle. And it's this 23-degree angle of the earth that actually gives us our seasons, summer, winter, autumn, and spring. And it's all of this combined that gives us our sunrise and sunset. And all of this is by meticulous detail. It's not random chance. This is by intelligent design. And God has made this so specific that if the earth was just a little bit closer to the sun, we would all burn to death. If it was just a bit further away from the sun, we would all freeze to death. So as the sun revolves around the earth revolves around the sun at that perfect speed that God has given us, at that perfect tilt, He does all of this every day just to give you the sunrise and the sunset. Imagine for a moment if we lived in total darkness. Thousands of years we lived in darkness. We never saw the sun or sunlight. And what happened was the only light we would have was battery-operated torches to see around. That would obviously limit us to what we can see and the colors of which we see. And then all of a sudden something amazing happens. People start to see a glimmer of light come from the horizon. They've never seen this before. They don't know what it is. But all of a sudden, light cascades through the heavens. And for the first time, they see the blue sky. They see the white clouds. They see the blue sea. They see the green grass and the red roses. They look around and see mountains that they'd never seen before. And not only that, they'll then see this little red disc, this little circular shape come up from the horizon. It's the sun. And it starts shining in all its glory, shining through the clouds, and they see this amazing spectacle. You know what they would say when they see that? They'll say it's a miracle. Can I tell you that every day God gives us a miracle? Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will see a miracle. The next day when you wake up, another miracle. And when you wake up the next day, another miracle. These are beautiful paintings in the sky that God has given us every day. It's almost as if God was signing his name in the right-hand corner. Every day when you wake up, God says, good morning, here's your miracle for today. Something I think we take far too much for granted. A simple sunrise, a simple sunset. But what God has put in place just to give you that is mind-boggling. It blows your mind away to think of the meticulous detail that God has planned, the speeds, the distance, just to give you that miracle. Again, just with God's creation, I think we should just stand back and rather say, thank you. The next question God asked Job is, can you control the stars? So we read again from the book of Job, Job 38, 31 to 33. Can you control the stars, God asks. He says, can you bind the chains of Pleiades and loose the cords of Orion? Can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons, or lead out the bear with his cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth? God here mentions certain star clusters and constellations. In the ancient days, or even today, you can look up and you'll see stars in the sky. I'm aided with binocular telescope. You'll see about 7,000 stars. And what people in the ancient times eventually saw was that these stars were actually fixed in the sky. And what they do is they all rotate in a circular motion around the northern hemisphere's north star. So all these stars were fixed. So what eventually happened was people started to join the dots. Just like when you were in primary school, you used to get pictures with just dots, and you used to join them and they used to form a picture. This is exactly what the people in ancient days did. They looked at the stars, joined the dots, and then they started to put pictures together. If you're not familiar with astronomy or physics, you might be familiar with the 12 signs of the zodiac. We're familiar with those as Scorpio, Libra, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, etc., etc. And although we have the picture in our mind of what these constellations look like, or these zodiac signs, they actually come from a very beautiful constellation. Some of these constellations are very easy to see. We'll see the constellation of stars, join the dots, and we'll be able to put a picture upon that, and it looks pretty real. For example, Scorpio. Scorpio looks like this big skewed J in the sky, and you can actually see a bit of the scorpion in it. And when you overlay a picture on top of that, wow, look, it looks like a scorpion. But some of the constellations, in fact, many of them don't follow this same route. For example, Aries. Aries is about 4 stars almost in a line. And what the ancient people done was they eventually saw a whole ram or a sheep in this constellation. Many of the constellations are like that. You don't actually put the dots together and get a picture. Very few of them actually have a picture design behind the constellation. And God mentions one particular one in Job. He says, can you loose the cords of Orion? So let me show you how Orion looks. Orion is, in our southern hemisphere, a summer constellation. You'll see it anywhere, and it's noticeably seen by the 3 stars in the sky. Anywhere you look in the sky, you'll see 3 stars next to each other, and this will be the belt of Orion. Many people call this the 3 sisters or the 3 kings. It's actually the belt of the hunter Orion. Let me give you a bit of history about Orion, the myth. It actually comes from a Greek myth. Orion was this mighty hunter. They said sometimes he was a giant, and he was very proud and arrogant, and he actually claimed one day to kill all the animals on earth. Then the goddess Gaia stepped in, that's Mother Earth. She stepped in and said, no, you're not going to do that. So she sent a scorpion. That's where Scorpio comes from. A scorpion to kill him. And the scorpion did. Zeus, the king of the Greek gods, then decided to honor both the scorpion and Orion. He's going to put them both into the universe, into the stellar stars as we see them today. And as I said, in the southern hemisphere where we live here in South Africa, the summer constellation will always be Orion, and in the winter you'll always see Scorpio. And it's interesting that these 2 constellations seem to chase each other around the sky. When Orion starts to dip below the horizon and disappear, you'll always see Scorpio rising on the other side of the horizon. And even June, April, May, you'll see these 2 constellations in the sky at the same time on either side of the horizon. Orion on the east and Scorpio on the west. From this beautiful constellation of Orion, there's a couple of things I'd like to just share with you. Number one is, in the northern hemisphere, you will see Orion obviously upright, as the northern hemisphere people would have seen him and drawn the picture around him. But here in the southern hemisphere, things are a little bit different. In the southern hemisphere, we see Orion upside down. In fact, we see all the constellations upside down. Now, this is simply because the people in the northern hemisphere, 90% of the population of the earth live north of the equator. And they were responsible for the constellations and the naming and the myths around the constellations. So when they saw the constellations, obviously they would have put them all upright. But here in the southern hemisphere, just because of our view of the universe and the view of the solar system, we see all the stars upside down. One more interesting fact about the constellation of Orion is a certain star called Betelgeuse. On the picture is represented by that bright red star on the north side of the belt of Orion. And this star is called Betelgeuse, yes, just like the movie, just spelled a little bit differently. And Betelgeuse is a red giant star. And when I say giant star, I mean it's really, really big. Let me show you a picture comparison comparing the sun to Betelgeuse. As you can see on the left-hand side, you can hardly see the sun compared to this huge star called Betelgeuse. To give you a bit of illustration of how really big this star is, if you take a golf ball, and that represents Earth, and you put that golf ball on the pavement of the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is the 20th largest or tallest building in the world, a very familiar sight in New York City. If you take the golf ball, which represents Earth, put it at the pavement of the Empire State Building, then take the length of the Empire State Building, and then put 4 more buildings on top of it. That will be how big Betelgeuse is to the Earth. 5 times the Empire State Building. That's not the only interesting thing about the Orion. North of the 3 stars, you'll see this little red area. It's a star cluster. It's actually called a nebula, and it's called the Horse's Head Nebula. And if you look through a good telescope or binoculars, this is what you'll see. Just an amazing picture of a nebula found right there in the constellation of Orion. And as you can see, just off to the center on the right, you'll see a little black area which resembles a horse's head. Hence the name, the Horse Head Nebula. In the book of Job, it also mentions another star cluster called the Pleiades. The Pleiades. And in the Greek myth, this was the 7 sisters. So let me first show you where to find this in the night sky. On the left-hand side, you'll see Orion, the 3 stars representing his belt. And then if you go further, you'll see another pretty red or orange star. This is a star called Aldebaran. And then if you carry on going a bit more to the right and north, you'll come to a little cluster of stars, about 7 major stars that you see naked eye. And this is called the Pleiades. And the Greek myth representing this Pleiades is that the 7 stars represent 7 sisters. And what happened is Orion the hunter also wanted to go out with them, so it's been told. And to protect them from this hunter, the prowess of Orion, Zeus put the bull, Taurus, into the sky. And what we see then is the red star Aldebaran actually becomes the eye of the bull. And the 7 sisters kind of sits on his back, and he protects and defends them from the mighty hunter Orion. The Pleiades itself, if you look at it with the naked eye, you'll see a small cluster of stars. It just looks like a bit of a haze, but through even a cheap telescope or binoculars, you will see this picture. And there you can see the Pleiades that God mentions in the book of Job in all its splendor and glory. We have the blessed fortune of having some of our telescopes on Earth actually sent up into space. One of these was called the Hubble Space Telescope. The Hubble Space Telescope was sent up in 19 in 1990 was launched, and actually orbits the Earth outside of the atmosphere of the Earth. And they done this was because telescopes on Earth are obstructed and hindered by pollution, clouds, aeroplanes, satellites, whatever it may be. But if you send a space telescope outside of the atmosphere, it'll be in the vacuum of space, unhindered, unobstructed by anything. And so the Hubble telescope, still in operation today, took some of the most amazing pictures of the universe. What happened in 1995 over the Christmas period, they said to the Hubble telescope that they just want to focus the focal lens on one small little area of the sky. And if you look at the comparison, this would be like looking at a tennis ball at 100 meters away. That's how small the small little area of the sky was that they wanted the Hubble telescope to take photographs of. And even through a telescope, they couldn't see much, 1 or 2 stars in this little black area. But anyway, the Hubble telescope took photographs, 346 photographs of a small little tiny area, and sent all the data back to NASA. When the scientists compiled it, they were just blown away by what they saw. And this is what they saw. What you're looking at is not stars, but galaxies. They counted more than 3,000 galaxies. And a galaxy is comprised of billions of stars. So in this one picture we have billions and trillions of stars in that one small little space, that small little area in the sky. And that just shows us how really, truly big our universe is. We haven't even touched the tip of the iceberg of how truly big the universe is, and it's ever expanding. Recently, the Hubble telescope was succeeded by his big brother, the James Webb telescope. This was launched in 2021 on Christmas Day, 25th of December. It went out, I can see a lot further and wider and brighter. The definition of photos was obviously high definition, far better than the Hubble telescope can ever dream of doing. And as of last year, 2022, in July, they started sending back the first images from the James Webb telescope. And this is what they saw. When I speak about the stars and the planets and I see these images, it always draws me back to the scriptures in Psalm chapter 8, verses 3 and 4. And it says, "When I consider your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place, what is mankind that you are mindful of them, human beings that you care for them." It's truly amazing that in the expanse of the great magnitude of the heavens that God has put before us, that the stars that are bigger than we can ever think, and not even there's bigger stars than that. In all of this, God still cares and loves you. It's so much that He actually sent His Son to die for you. So yes, all the heavens and the glory of it were not made for you and I, they were made for God. The scriptures declare that the heavens declare the glory of Almighty God. And we stand in unison with not only the angels, the myriads of angels in heaven, but also with the stars, as we all give glory to our Almighty Father and God. Let's look at our next question. It's called, God asked Job, do all animals depend on you? Do all animals depend on you? We're going to read from chapter 39, verses 1 and 2. Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you know when the doe bears her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? And in this chapter 39, it's basically like God's animal planet. He mentions 8 different animals and talks all about their birth and things like that. Very interesting facts about these animals. Questioning Job, does he know about them? Has he got any control over them? And obviously Job doesn't. And even if you look at domestic animals like cats and dogs, if you look on Google or the internet, and you'll find out the most amazing, fascinating facts just about domestic animals that we know very well. What I love to do though is look on Google at all the weird creatures out there that we've never heard of. So let me show you a couple of these creatures that I found that are in existence that God has made for us. The one is called the red-lipped bat fish. I will say that again, the red-lipped bat fish. As you can see from the picture, it has these bright red lips, and they said that these lips are actually used to attract the opposite sex during mating season. It's Maybe why the girls wear red lipstick today, I don't know. The other interesting thing about this creature is that it has fins but doesn't actually use them to actually swim. It actually walks on its fins. So as you can see, this creature just walks on the ocean floor doing what it must do. The next creature is called the glass frog. And you can see why. The top part of the body of this frog is green and normal like all other frogs, but the underbelly, the underside, is completely translucent. You can actually see the heart pumping the blood to the other organs. Crazy thing about this is 125 other species of this animal out there, as if one wasn't weird enough. This one that you'll see, if you look quickly, it looks like a bird flying over the ocean, flying over the seas. It's not a bird, it's actually a fish called the flying fish. This is a fish that will jump out of the water, uses pectoral fins to actually glide in the air, hence the name flying fish. This fish can glide up to 600 feet. It's actually been counted that they monitored with some of these fish, and the longest distance they covered, or in time anyway, was 45 seconds. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but think about it. A fish jumping out of the water, and then you start to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then all of a sudden that 45 seconds becomes a very long time for a fish to be out of water. Ironically, the only real prey for this flying fish is flying birds. So when the birds see the fish jump out of the water, they go and attack it and eat it. So maybe the flying fish should rather just stay in the water. Let's look at our next creature. It's called the mantis shrimp. A crazy looking creature, is about 10 centimeters long. It's a shrimp. I mean, we've all seen shrimps. This is a bit different because it's got the forearms of a praying mantis. And there's two species of this weird looking creature called the spearers, because they use those little praying mantis arms to actually spear other animals before they eat them, and also the smashers, because the little arms they have can actually smash and kill their prey, the fish, to create whatever they want to eat. What's amazing about these little arms, though, it has the force of a bullet. It can actually break the glass of an aquarium. They've actually got this on camera, video footage of this taking place, and frame by frame they looked, and what they found was amazing. As this little creature uses its bullet force to actually hit and kill the other prey, well, it actually creates a heat bubble. For like a split second, a heat bubble is formed, and the heat inside this bubble is up to 4,000 degrees Celsius. That's the heat of the surface of the sun. And then what happens in a split second, this little bubble bursts and causes this almost like a nuclear bomb effect that rushes through the radius of that praying mantis and just like kills anything in its sight. So if the force of the bullet arms don't kill the animal, that force of this radiation, nuclear bomb heat, will definitely kill anybody else in its way. Another interesting fact about this mantis shrimp is its eyes. It's got two eyes on two antennae which act independently of one another. So they can see different things at different times. Not like us, who basically have the two eyes focused on one area, and all that comes into our brains and we can calculate. Their two eyes are seeing different things all the time. Not only that, they actually have 12 different channels of color. You won't really make sense of that unless you can compare to something. Human beings only have 3 channels of color, 3 cones of color. We see objects, and the light is reflected into our retinas. Behind our retinas are cones. We have 3 cones, a red one, a green one, and a blue one. And from those 3 colors, we get about 1 million different shades of colors, the colors we see every day. And there's already a lot of colors. Mantis shrimp can see through 12 different channels of colors. So I have no idea of how many colors and what definition they see these colors in, but it's truly amazing to find animals that have 12 different channels of color. Human beings have 3, dogs have 2, so they can actually still differentiate some colors, but not near as much as us, and definitely not as much as the mantis shrimp. Let's look at our next animal. It's called the frilled shark, and this looks like it should come out of a Jurassic Park movie. It's just a huge looking shark. It does not swim like a shark, it actually swims like an eel, and it's so big that it doesn't even have to eat its prey, it just swallows its prey whole. Believe it or not, this creature actually exists out there. Our last creature to look at is called the barrel-eyed fish. Pretty normal looking fish. It's got a mouth and gills and it swims in the ocean. But the difference between this fish is that you can actually see right through its head. I kid you not. This head or dome of this fish is actually translucent. You can actually see the brain and the eyes and the nervous system of this creature. Incidentally, they say that they've only really photographed 2 living creatures of the barrel-eyed fish, because the others are found to have all been dead. They live in deep sea water. As soon as they rise to warmer waters, they die. So this is one of only 2 photographs, I believe, of the barrel-eyed fish. And I've seen all these creatures, and it amazes us to what else is out there. We don't really know how many creatures are out there, and these are ones that we don't know about. The ones that we see, we go to a zoo or the game reserve and we can see those animals. We can look up in Google and see another 1,000 animals, but to be honest, there's probably about 1,000,000 other animals that we don't even know about. I'm talking about microscopic animals that we don't ever see. And this is just a few of those weird, freaky creatures that God has given us. So after all these questions that God asked Job finally comes to the realization how great his God is and how truly ignorant he is. And he has really no right to ask God any questions about life and his universe that he created, because we weren't there and we just don't know. After every question, God was bringing forth a very powerful statement of truth. And it is, Job, I am God and you are not. And I think we'll only really find peace in our life once we come to that recognition or realization that God is God and we are not. When we come into the presence of God, we'll see how truly small we are and how truly great he is. Let me conclude the message with a verse from the Psalms. It's a psalm that you're probably familiar with, and as you see these pictures and contemplate on how beautiful and great and amazing God is, let this verse sink down deep into your spirit. It's Psalm 46:10. It says, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. I think it's time for us to just reflect and stand back and be still and stand in amazement at the sunset and the sunrise and the beauty of God's creation. I think we should be still and stand in awe of God's amazing universe that He has given us. I think we should be still and admire those freaky little creatures that God has given us. And above all, not question, but simply say, thank you, Lord. You know, God is so above and transcends our mortal thinking and universe that we cannot understand Him. And God knows that. God never intended for us as human beings to fully comprehend and understand God. But He does want us to trust Him, to be still and know that He is God. So with this message, reflect on the beauty and the greatness of God and all He has given us. Stand back today with a heart of gratitude and say, thank you, Lord. And let God be God, the God in the storm. Amen.